My 21 sister Jess, 30, is married and has a 5-year stepson. Her husband works full-time and she is a stay-at-home mom. Every Monday, she'd call my mom at 9 a.m. to get her to go over to her house and watch her stepkid for a few hours. I live at home with my parents and so I've noticed this routine for weeks now. Last week mom went out of town to visit some relatives, and yesterday, Monday, at 9 a.m. my sister called asking me to come watch her stepkid for a few hours because she had an important thing to do. I said no because I had to go study, and also she does this every Monday, so clearly it wasn't important or urgent, but she insisted it was. I told her sorry but no. She ended the call, then I went to the university. Hours later, I got a call from my brother-in-law asking where my sister was. I said I had no idea. He proceeded to tell me he just came home at 1 p.m. and found his son by himself at the house. I was in shock that my sister left her stepkid by himself so she could go God knows where. I told him about the conversation I had with her and he got angry. In the evening my sister came over and started making a scene by yelling at me for bailing on her after she sent me a text message telling me she was already out the house to force me to come watch her stepson. I didn't see the FB message till she told me, but she said I did this deliberately and also exposed her to her husband because she told him she'd be at home with the kid. Not just that, but I also told her husband that mom comes over every Monday morning to watch the kid for a few hours, which caused a huge fight between him and my sister. She yelled that I was petty and selfish and just stirred crap and caused issues in her marriage by tattling to her husband. I couldn't keep arguing. I went into my room and started playing music. My dad and the others said I was to blame for not helping my sister and now being the reason she and her husband are in conflict. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, this is bonkers. She left a 5-year-old alone, counting on a messaging app on a social network and your sense of concern for a child to make sure her responsibilities were covered. I don't think going out one morning a week is a problem for a stay-at-home mom, but lying to your husband about it and forcing your relatives to cover it? No sir. Not the idiot. You are not the childcare. You do not have a contract or agreement to do it. She assumed she could guilt you into it at the last minute. Good for you for standing your ground. She created this mess, not you. She will have to fix this mess, not you. Her web of lies fell apart. I feel badly for the kid and Bill, but Bill made a choice, probably not the kid. Not the idiot in the slightest. She chose to leave her stepson unattended. Not you. She decided that a daily, and most likely not important, thing was more important than her stepson. Not you. She chose to abuse the kindness of your parents. Not you. She is at fault for getting herself exposed. Not you. She decided to put her stepchild in danger. Not you. I go hunting every year. I'm not a trophy hunter by any means. I do it for meat and almost purely for economic reasons at this point. Taking a few of deer off my property once a year keeps my freezer stocked and the grocery bill way down, which is important because finances can be tight sometimes. As a little relevant background, the bulk of the meat is kept in a large freezer in the garage, and about once a week we pull out what we will need for the next week or so. Which means the freezer is normally only opened about once a week. My son, 15, has decided that he is vegetarian about 6 months ago, which my wife and I have no problems with. We started making meatless meals twice a week and made sure every other dinner was such that the meat was separate from everything else so he could still eat with us. This has been working great for the last 6 months with no complaints. However, last week when I pulled the meat for the week out of our freezer in the garage, he decided to come behind me and unplug the freezer. I guess he thought we weren't doing enough to support his cause? He never spoke to us or complained about our twice a week setup prior to unplugging the freezer. Well, as you can imagine, with a now unrefrigerated pile of meat in the summer heat, it didn't take long for the meat to start to rot and stink. The freezer kept the smell in for a while, so by the time we finally noticed, everything was completely putrid. I asked my son if he knew what happened, and he proudly said that he had unplugged it on purpose and now we would have to be meat-free. I told him that he didn't have the right to ruin a freezer full of meat and raise the family's grocery bill without discussing it with anyone. I told him that as part of his punishment he had to clean up his mess. Meaning dispose of all of the rotting meat and either sufficiently clean and sanitize the freezer or purchase a new one out of his savings. He called me the idiot for making him interact with meat in any form. But he made the mess, he needs to clean it up. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I think that was a great way to handle this situation. Your son has no right to dictate how you will eat. Just like you have no right to dictate how he eats. I think this is a fair and just punishment, and hopefully it will stick with him for a while. Hopefully it also comes with a conversation about how he doesn't get to make choices for other people. Not the idiot. This is at the same level of animal rights activists trying to do the right thing and freeing hundreds of non-indigenous specimens in a territory, completely ruining the local ecosystem. Having some kind of moral value regarding animal rights and deciding to be meat-free, it's completely fine, but this kind of activism is way more delicate than most naive people realize. You are not the idiot for making your son interact with the consequences of his actions, and you should have a long talk about thinking before acting. Not the idiot. What's the thought process here? We're poor, so the only thing you can afford to do about this wasted meat is to replace this with veggies? If he's a vegetarian for moral reasons, have him explain to you how wasting meat is respecting and honoring an animal's life. Environmental ones? Have him research the benefits of a local diet over imported products that lead to deforestation. He's got to clean the mess, replace the fridge, and understand he was wrong from every perspective. Wasting meat doesn't create more vegetarians. Backstory: I'm 26 and a fairly successful artist. My sister, Lucy, 24, and her child Ethan, 9, were at my house during a late New Year's celebration. I had a sign posted on my art studio saying "Do not enter" and specifically made it clear to all guests that nobody was to enter that room. I'd also like to note that all my guests were asked to leave their kids at home as this was for adults, but Lucy couldn't do that because she couldn't find a sitter. Anyway. Note, I also set up my boyfriend's PS4 for him to play on so he wouldn't be bored. It's 10 p.m., and I hear a loud crash from my studio. I run up and see paint all over my recently work that so far had taken 15 hours to do. Ethan was sat there laughing, rubbing paint into my work. It's now unsalvageable and I have to restart the work, as it was a specific request from a client. Which also puts me behind for the rest of my work now. I immediately asked Ethan and Lucy to leave, and the next day I sent her a bill for the work. £2,500, which is lower than I would have gotten for the work anyway. She's absolutely screaming about it. The whole family is divided. My mom hates me, my dad completely agrees with me. Surprise, my dad is an artist, my mom is more smart. My sister's husband agrees with me. I will admittedly say, I don't enjoy kids. Or their company. But I've always been a great auntie, presents at Christmas, gifts from vacation, everything he's wanted. Am I an idiot for charging my sister £2,500? Not the idiot. It was already an issue that she brought her kid, but you were understanding about that. The least she could have done was watch her damn kid while there and respected your wishes of no one going in there. When you bring kids to an adult party, it's your responsibility to watch them, not the host or other guests unless other kids are involved. Not the idiot. 9 is old enough to know how to read a do not enter sign, and to know that destroying others' property is unacceptable. If they were younger, the blame would be a little more questionable, but there is no mistake about this. You should certainly be compensated, but I might lower the price to be proportionate to how much time you actually spent, not a loose figure around the price that you would have gotten. Not the idiot. While it sounds crappy written out to a lot of people, that's the same as if you ran a dealership or a high-end gallery, and someone let their kid run around scratching cars or fingerprinting on museum pieces. You said no kids, that had to be worked around, okay, but then the kid wasn't even supervised. He realistically could have been killed toppling stuff like that. What the people saying you are the idiot don't realize is that this is your livelihood. Before I met my wife, who is an artist, I might have said you are the idiot, but I couldn't fathom discrediting someone's hard work like that now. As stated in a prior post, I was kicked out at 15 for being gay. From 15 to 35 I had no contact with my family. Over the years they have somehow managed to work their way back into my life. Only in a small capacity. My sister, who is younger than me, called earlier and asked what me and my husband were doing for Thanksgiving. I told her that it was just us and that we were just going to have a nice dinner and probably watch TV for the night. And go to bed early. She told me that she was having dinner and that we need to show up. I told her thank you, but this was the first set of holidays in 10 years that I didn't have to host, and I was planning on staying home and just putting on a fresh pair of pajamas after a shower and not going anywhere. She then asked about Christmas and I told her the same thing. She then asked when it would be a good time to get together. I told her point blank that I wasn't all that interested given our history and that I was perfectly happy with how things were at this point. This was when she got pissed off and started to yell at me saying that I need to start acting more a part of the family and that I need to let go of the past. She told me that we as family need to try and bridge the gap and move forward in a positive way. I told her no, we don't. We hardly know each other. We are very much strangers. I also told her she needs to stop throwing the word family around like it is supposed to mean something to me. When we started to talk again when I was 35 when our dad died, her and my brother constantly berated me and told me that I need to just let them deal with everything that needed to be done. I never disagreed with them. I told them that they could handle it. I was berated when our mother was sick for not visiting her in the hospital or when she was home. I really don't have much of a relationship with my mom and she is a pretty good stranger as well, so it didn't really matter. I threw everything back in her face. Before we hung up, she reminded me that it wasn't my husband's blood that runs through my body. And blood is thicker than water. I told her no. My husband's blood did not in fact run through my body. But his semen did, and that was close enough. I thought my husband was going to wet his pants. So am I the idiot for telling my sister to stop using the word family like it means something? Not the idiot. This sounds like the relationship I have with my sister, who is also pressuring me to come for holidays. It's not the family you're born into, it's the one you choose. My husband has a large family, and with me being due with baby too soon, we have decided to skip out on holidays. I am very much looking forward to having a nice quiet Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas morning with my husband and my kids. No driving, no lugging food/presents, just home cooked food and cute movies. It's not your responsibility to play along with whatever perfect family fantasy she seems to have cooked up in her head, no matter how invested in it she may be. I mean, you can't even discuss the invite without her berating you, so it's not exactly shocking you don't want to sign up for hours, or possibly days, of even more. During a pandemic, no less. Besides, your real family is sitting next to you on the couch, laughing his butt off, good man, and you should absolutely enjoy your low-stress, pajama party holidays. Sounds like an awesome plan. Seems this is an unpopular judgment here, but with the info given I have to go with no idiots here. You're definitely not the idiot for not wanting anything to do with a family that turned in you. I also don't consider your sister the idiot for trying to reach out to you. Seems like things escalated after that, as they often do in this kind of situations, but I personally don't necessarily see bad intentions behind it. Again, based on the provided info alone, I'll say no idiots here. My husband Mickey loves his mom's cooking. He always praises her for the food she makes and even mentioned it in his groom's speech at the wedding. I consider myself a good cook. In fact, I'm going to just say that I'm even better than his mom. But the problem is he doesn't even want to try my cooking or give me a chance to prove it. I thought this would change after marriage, but 5 months later nothing's changed. What does he eat if he's not eating what I'm cooking? He has requested that his mom send him a meal every day to eat for dinner after getting off work, except for the weekend where we go over to her house and eats breakfast, lunch, dinner and dessert there. Every single day he'd come home and ask if his mom sent him a meal. I grew irritated of this, and whenever I try to offer him to taste any of the wasted food I cook, he'd lay in bed and say he's full. So I came up with an idea. I cooked him the same meal his mom sent him that day and put it aside till he got home. He asked if his mom sent a meal for dinner, and I said yes and served him my own version of the meal, not hers. He didn't notice anything different. He ate the whole thing with no hesitation while I sat across from him asking him questions about how good the meal was. He went on and on praising it, saying how perfect, exceptional it was, and how it was just what he needed after a long day at work. I smiled and said, "You're welcome." He froze and looked at me for a minute. Looked down at the plate, then back at me and said, "Wait, you made this, didn't you?" I said, "With my own hand and from scratch." His face suddenly went red and he got upset and said that this was not cool. I told him he never even gave me a chance to show him how good my cooking is, and that he's probably just used to his mom's cooking and is rejecting any other alternatives, which is unfair to me. He said that I shouldn't have lied to him and basically tricked him into eating food that he had no idea where it came from. I said he liked it and admitted that it was good, so what's the issue? He got up from his seat, threw the napkin and said that I was unbelievable, then walked out. He got quiet the rest of the evening, then posted about it on his FB in a vague post about being tricked into eating someone's food like that. I felt guilty and bad, thinking maybe I really shouldn't have done this, but I was frustrated with how he kept turning down every meal I tried to cook him and then say no thanks, I prefer mom's food. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. At first I thought this was going to be like tricking a vegan with cheese or an allergenic with nuts. Your husband refuses to try your cooking, and feels tricked when you substitute yours for mom's. Same food, same ingredients. Frankly, I see no future in this relationship. He is married to his mother and just having love with you. Not the idiot. You didn't try to feed him a specific type of food he won't eat or has allergies or religious objections to. You gave him the exact dish he was going to be eating anyway. He's married to you, not his mother, and for him to just utterly reject your cooking without ever even trying it is relationship-ending levels of rude. The fact that he actually liked your food the one time he did try it says quite a bit about what a problem this is. You're not the idiot, but made a very dumb decision in marrying this man. How could you ignore the mountain of red flags here? His behavior is completely outrageous and there's no way it doesn't affect every part of your lives and marriage. You have to spend all weekend, every weekend eating at your in-laws? Come on girl, what the hell were you thinking?